January 26, 1945. The woods near Holtzwihr, France, were silent. Too silent for the men of the 3rd Infantry Division. Snow covered the broken ground, burned out vehicles, and the scattered remains of yesterday's failed German probes. Somewhere ahead, hidden in the trees and fog, the Wehrmacht was preparing something bigger. Everyone felt it, and in the middle of this frozen nightmare stood a 19-year-old American lieutenant, thin, quiet, almost boyish. His name Audie Murphy, a man who looked too small for war, yet carried more courage than entire regiments. Murphy had already seen hell from Sicily to the Rhone Valley. He had medals, scars, and memories he tried not to think about. But nothing could prepare him for the moment when he would have to hold the line alone. That morning, reports came in. German armor spotted, troops massing, artillery zeroing in. Murphy ordered his men to dig in around the edge of a forest clearing. Defensive positions were weak, ammunition low, and support limited. The battalion couldn't afford to lose this ground. If the Germans broke through here, they'd open a road to the valley behind them and ignite a larger collapse. The men trusted Murphy. He wasn't a commander who hid behind them. He was always first forward, last to leave. And today, as mortars began to whistle overhead, they watched him climb onto a small embankment, binoculars in hand, searching. Then he saw it. From beyond the tree line, German troops emerged in force. Infantry, armored personnel carriers, and most terrifying of all, a column of tanks. Snow kicked up under their tracks. Machine guns opened up with rhythmic thunder. Murphy yelled for his men to fall back to a secondary line deeper in the woods. Better cover, better angles, better chance of surviving. But he did not fall back with them. He stayed, alone, facing an entire German assault. And behind him sat a burning, abandoned M10 tank destroyer, its .50 caliber. Machine gun still intact on top. Most would have run. Murphy climbed onto it. He keyed his radio and screamed coordinates into the handset. "Enemy armor advancing. Bring the artillery right on top of me." The reply crackled. "But Lieutenant, those rounds will hit your position." Murphy didn't hesitate. "That's the point. Fire!" Seconds later, the forest exploded. Artillery shells rained down so close that mud, shrapnel, and tree splinters tore into Murphy's coat. But he didn't move. He couldn't. If he retreated even a meter, the Germans would break through the line and annihilate his men. With the enemy closing in, Murphy swung the M10's .50 caliber into position. The gun roared like thunder, echoing through the snowy forest. Tracers sliced across the battlefield, tearing through German infantry charging in the open. The first wave fell. The second scattered. The third attempted to flank him. Murphy shifted fire, ripping through them like a reaper with a machine gun. The Germans couldn't believe what they were facing. A single American soldier, standing on top of a burning tank destroyer, unleashing artillery on his own position, while firing a .50 cal like a man possessed. Hit every direction. Expose himself completely. Hold the line alone. And for a moment, it worked. But the Germans adapted. Riflemen crawled through the snow, taking cover behind logs and craters. A panzer tank advanced steadily, turret turning toward the burning M10. Murphy didn't flinch. He kept firing until the barrel glowed red. His hands blistered from the heat. Bullets chipped away at the metal around him. Smoke from the burning vehicle stung his eyes and made breathing difficult. Then disaster. The M10's engine fire reached the fuel lines. A massive explosion threw Murphy backward. Flames shot into the air. The tank destroyer was finished. But Murphy wasn't. Bleeding, ears ringing, lungs burning, he crawled back into a shallow ditch. And instead of retreating, he grabbed his radio again. "Keep firing." "They're still coming." The artillery officer sounded almost confused. "Lieutenant, who is still on the line?" "Who's directing fire?" Murphy answered with the same icy calm that would later define him. "Just me. Adjust fire by 50, more left." "Keep it coming." German troops regrouped for another push. They believed the explosion had killed the American. But as soon as they advanced, he opened fire again, this time with his rifle. Murphy picked off targets one by one, hitting moving soldiers through drifting smoke and snow. Every shot delayed the assault. Every minute bought time. And finally, from deep in the woods, Murphy heard voices. American voices, reinforcements. His men were returning to the fight. Murphy, still firing, shouted, "Counterattack! Move up now!" He wasn't finished. Not yet. He rose from the ditch, limping, exhausted, wounded, and led the men in a final push that drove the Germans back into the forest they had emerged from. By nightfall, the ground was littered with destroyed vehicles, abandoned weapons, and the bodies of more than 50 German soldiers. And all because one man refused to retreat. When the smoke cleared, Murphy finally collapsed. His uniform was shredded. His face was blackened with soot. His leg was bleeding badly. When medics arrived, he resisted treatment. Not because he wanted to look tough, but because he wanted to make sure no Germans were still hiding nearby. Only when the area was fully secure did he allow them to carry him away. His men stood around him, silent, stunned. They had seen bravery before. But this was something else. A single soldier had held off an entire German reinforced company, infantry, armored vehicles and tanks, for nearly an hour. The official after-action report described his stand as one of the greatest acts of battlefield courage in American military history. For his actions at Holtzwihr, Audie Murphy received the Medal of Honor. But when reporters later asked him how he found the courage to stay behind alone, his answer wasn't heroic or dramatic. He simply said, "They were killing my friends." After the war, Murphy struggled deeply. Nightmares, sleeplessness, survivor's guilt, long before the term PTSD existed. He spoke openly about it, fought for veterans, and became a voice for those who came home with invisible wounds. He never saw himself as a hero, but on that frozen January morning, in a forest clearing surrounded by fire and steel, he became something more than that. He became the soldier who refused to break, the soldier who stood between the enemy and his men, the soldier who held the line, alone, until reinforcements arrived. This is the story of Audie Murphy, America's quietest hero, and the man who held back a German army with nothing but courage, fire, and sheer will to survive.